Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Arlington, Virginia. I'm Amy Shepard, a member of the Board of Trustees. It's almost March. To that I say, huzzah! That's my catchphrase. And to start off March like a lion, I encourage you to join Reverend Amanda, myself, and others on March 6th for Leadership Day, Nurturing the Leader Within. Through Leadership Day, we will explore the spirituality of leadership and reflect on anti-racism as a leadership practice. Leadership Day is not just about leadership at UUCA, but about the many facets of leadership we use in our daily lives. Although as a board member, I've had a chance to reflect on leadership styles and to recognize that what makes an effective leadership team is just that, a team, not just a leader. And that team at UUCA runs very wide and very deep. I have learned so much from other board members, officers, ministers, and staff through my work on the board. I've become a better listener, collaborator, and built some truly spectacular friendships and connections to both UUCA members and the church as a whole. I now recognize and appreciate that I was leading before I ever had an official leadership role at the church. As an RE teacher, usher, greeter, or dancing mouse or pirate captain in a chalice play, I was nurturing the church and my own spiritual practice through these activities. Reflecting on this also allows me to see that while I wouldn't describe myself as a leader, I have been leading outside church as well, from projects at work to training my kids on how to train a pandemic puppy. Say hi, Nightly. Even if you don't think of yourself as a leader, I encourage you to attend Leadership Day because we're all leading in some way every day. And there's tremendous power in recognizing and developing those skills. So again, welcome to our service. After the service, please gather with us for virtual coffee hour, where we can join small discussion groups to connect, catch up, and meet someone new. Have a wonderful week and happy almost March, and most importantly, almost spring. Huzzah!
Good morning. My name is Bill Fogarty, and it is my joy to be the worship associate today, live from Arlington and many places today. For the call to worship, I would like to share with you a short reading and a question. The reading is the 8th principle, which our congregation adopted in 2019. We are one of a number of UU congregations that have adopted this principle, and it is our hope that the UU denomination will endorse and adopt this principle soon. So let me read it. We, the members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Arlington, covenant to affirm and promote their journey towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. And here's the question. How can we turn these words into action? And now please join me in the chalice lighting. Maybe you have had a chalice or a candle at home that you've been lighting along with us each week. We gather together as a community of memory and hope. My match didn't work. How about that? That's why we're live. Woo. We light this chalice as a symbol of the light within every human heart. May our individual sparks meet and merge, bringing both light and warmth to the world. Welcome. It's good to be with you today.
Tom, thank you so much for that welcome into the energy of the day. UUCA, I have been working with Tom for a number of years and I've had the chance to hear his amazing music. And I am really excited to get to introduce him to you today. You can check out more about Tom at tomteasley.com, and we'll try to throw that into the chat now or later. Well, it is so good to be with you, UUCA, whether you are here in the Zoom room, in the room where it happens, or watching on Facebook, or watching on YouTube, or watching from the church website. We are glad you are here today. And we are going to do something this morning right from the start that I don't think UUCA has ever done before. We are going to have a virtual child dedication. I say virtual because it will happen on screen, but it will be very real in the way that we hold it in our hearts and dedicate ourselves to these children. You know, from the beginning of time, parents and caregivers have brought their children to their communities for their blessing, for their love, to name them in the community, and for the community to care for them. In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, rather than dedicating the child to the faith, we dedicate ourselves to the child's parents and caregivers and all who surround that child with love. The ceremony affirms the way that all of us, parents, family members, special friends of the child, and the whole gathered congregation share in the responsibility for the care and development of these children, and indeed of all children in our world. It is our task on their behalf to strive for the more just and beautiful world in which they may grow and which they will someday help to create, and perhaps are creating even now. It is our task to hold them in the caring embrace of our community and to support them as they venture out and find their place in the larger world.
We are going to welcome now the parents and children participating in this ceremony today to come on screen. And as they do, I encourage you to share your personal welcome in the chat.
As our families are joining us on screen, let's first give our shout out in our hearts or in the chat to Annie Parker, who is the wizard behind the scenes, making sure we are all able to be seen. She's finding those families in the list of everyone attending and bringing them up just as though they were walking or rolling or running up to the chancel. Were we together in person? They are zipping up to the screen, and indeed we see them already here as families. We're so glad to have you with us, all of you. We have, I think, one more family coming on. The anticipation is building. Marcy says in the chat, it's so exciting. Marcy, I agree. We are glad to have you here. I see folks, I don't know if you all can read the chat, families, as you're arriving, but you're getting some wonderful hellos from people who are so glad to have you here with us this morning, who are sharing their excitement. There's hearts on Facebook and over on YouTube as well. We're so glad to have you here. All right, I think we are present.
All right. Devonzo Satner family. What is the name you have given this child?
Daisy DeVonzo.
Daisy.
Oh, maybe you can.
Oh.
Daisy DeVonzo.
Nameless, you came into this world, but now You are known. Perfect, as Daisy Devanzo. Oh, could not have timed that better. Daisy, may you hear your name said with love and respect, and may you live so that your name warms the hearts of those who know you.
Presents.
Sai, Satarni Lascorn family, what is the name you have given this child?
We name you Cora Satarni Lascorn Sai.
Nameless you came into this world, but now you are known as Cora Satarni Lasco Sai. May you hear your name said with love and respect, Cora, and may you live so that your name warms the hearts of those who know you.
Say hi.
Birkenbilt family.
Hello. Can you hear us?
Yes, Birkenbilt family. What is the name you have given this child, a name which they now claim as their own?
This is Lila Birkenbilt. And
I'm invisible.
Corey Birkenbilt, who is invisible. And may I put the camera on you for a second?
No.
No.
That's, you know what? If we want to
That's
stay
okay.
invisible, that's
can
just the
stay
way some
invisible.
superheroes are.
All right. Well, he may decide to make an appearance.
Either way, nameless you came into this world, but now you are known as Lila and you are known as Corey. May you both hear your names said with love and respect, and may you live so that your names warm the hearts of those who know you. So Bonfu Some, the Burkinabe teacher, author, and founder of Wisdom Spring, shared these words. If children grow up with the consciousness that their community just consists of mama or papa, and then they have to deal with a problem that they alone cannot solve, they will have no one outside the family to whom they can turn. The parents and only the parents are responsible for what the child makes of itself, and that is too much to ask from two people.
If children are given a wider concept of community, they will not have to be at the mercy of just one person. The child can seek out another to whom he wants to turn. And if this person doesn't help him, then she can go to the next. Since we are all only people, we all have our limits as to what we can do and what we are able to give. To raise children, we are always dependent upon the support of others.
Some finishes with these words. As we say in our village, it needs a whole village to raise a child. And it is just as true to say that it needs a whole village to look after the emotional health of the parents. It is with the wisdom of Some's words that we invite our dedications this morning. Dedications of care from parents to child, from community to family, and indeed, in the case as when we name older children, from children to community. First, parents gathered here. To you, parents, is given the awesome privilege and responsibility to be the givers and shapers of these growing children. Before you is the challenge of their questioning minds, their unfolding wonder of selfhood, and their responses to the world around them. Will you respond to that challenge with the best that is in you, seeking not to make your children just like you, but rather to help them become themselves and find their own ways? If so, say we will.
We will.
We will.
We will.
Today, we know we have grandparents, other family members, and special family friends joining us. And at this time, we ask them, please take a moment and share especially in the chat. As part of the extended family of these children, you have your own special roles and relationships. Will you commit to being a part of the lives of these parents and children, hearing their concerns and offering your supportive presence? Will you be there for them in good times and bad, helping them to celebrate joys and face hardships?
Extended family, we invite you to say "we will" in the chat, and we will save this chat and share to families so that you can see some of the messages being sent to you by grandparents and aunts and uncles and extended family who are here with us. There is a lot of "we will" happening right now.
We know too that the children and youth of our congregation, whether they are watching right now or joining later in their online RE classes, will have a role in supporting these children, in teaching them, learning from them, playing with them, and welcoming them. We are grateful for the connections and the friendships that are made among our children.
I ask now for the adult members of our congregation who are already writing all over the chat on YouTube and Facebook and in Zoom. Blessed and welcome. We're happy to have you as part of our church family. It has been wonderful, Lila and Corey, to be part of your village already from some of your RE teachers. We ask you now, it is the responsibility of this congregation to provide for the religious growth and nurture of all the children in our community. Will you delight in their accomplishments, share in their sorrows, and encourage them as they grow into adulthood? Will you support their parents too in the hard work of raising a family, welcoming them and laughing with them, sometimes commiserating with them, and often celebrating with them? And will you, to the best of your ability, provide the resources of time and treasure to maintain programs of religious education for all the children and youth in this congregation? If so, say, "We will." We will in the chat. We will. Imagine everyone cheering. And because today we dedicate 2 older children who are indeed well on their journey toward adulthood, learning about and shaping their place in the world, I ask you, Corey and Lila, will you receive our welcome and our dedication, returning our care with your engagement and interest, sharing with us what parts of your story and your journey you feel moved to bring into our community here together?
Yes.
If so, you can say thumbs up or "we will."
We will.
Thank you. We dedicate ourselves to these children and their families with 2 elements. A budding rose, symbol of the unfolding life before you in all its strength, its grace, and its possibility. It is our tradition to remove the thorns from the roses in hopes that your lives will be filled with as few thorns as possible, and that you will always be surrounded by loving people who help you when there are thorns. I will send pressed petals from these roses to each of the families, since I cannot hand them to you today. But please know that we hope, just like this flower, your life unfolds in beauty.
And our other symbol is water, one of the 4 elements, the source from which all life springs, reminding us that while we today embrace these children with our community, they are already part of the wholeness of the world. Today, we invite our families to have water with them and use it to bless and care for each other.
If you want to, yes, just take the water and you can put it on your child's face if they like that feeling, or on their hands if that feels better.
She's enjoying her
Feel
popsicle.
that source of life that we share. Through these symbols, we share with you our dedication to you as you grow. Friends, this has been the most chat ever on YouTube and Facebook, and certainly in our live Zoom worship. We are so glad to be able to share this moment with you. Corey and Lila and Daisy and Cora, welcome to our congregation. Welcome to this world you are already shaping and changing. Welcome to our community. We are glad to have you with us. We're going to imagine now cheers, and I invite everybody, wherever you are, whether we can see you or not, if you're on Zoom, if you're on Vimeo, if you're on the church website, do a wave, share a heart, and send our love. I hope that you can feel it. What a joy to be with you. Thank you to our families. Thank you so much to Leanne, our Director of Lifespan Faith Development, for joining me in this ceremony. Thank you to all sharing your blessings with the children and their parents. Corey, Lila, Daisy, Cora, congratulations. Well, this is already officially my favorite Sunday as our families return to their lives and go off video such that they no longer need to manage the look of their living room. We are so grateful to have had you with us. And now we have a special song for our children and for all of us, some learning about a different kind of family, I would say, brought to us by our Director of Transformational Music Ministries, Sophia. Let's listen. Annie, we are missing volume on that video, I think. As Annie gets that settled, we'll have just another shout out to Annie, who is managing all of the Zoom tech, and to Paul, who is managing the streaming so that what we share here is shared out into our different platforms as well. Annie and Paul, we literally could not be doing this without you. We are so grateful to both of you. I'm sure Annie's getting that all settled. Sometimes it's in the moments of hiccup that we realize how much there is that's happening behind the scenes, and we can just particularly feel our gratitude, which I see running through the chat right now. Thank you all so much, Annie and Paul, as you get set. I'm just tracking to see. There we go. All right.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Choir Loft. The organ itself is organized into several different families of different sounds, and when they're all put together, it sounds amazing. You'll notice that here's a panel that says swell, pedal, and on this side, which you can't see, but I'll show you a picture, it's called great and choir. Those represent the different keyboards or different sets of pipes that you see. So each division has different sounds on them that when you play them all together, again, it sounds beautiful. So our first family that we're going to explore are the strings. So our strings are shown here, and we're going to just listen to them to see what we think. All right, so our next family of sounds that we're going to explore, the mama shark, is going to be on the flutes. So let's listen to our flute sounds. All right, for our daddy shark, we're going to use principals. Now, you might not have heard of an instrument called a principal, because principal is used that's unique to the organ. So the name principal is a sound that is unique to the organ. And we have several principals. That is the main sound of an organ. So let's listen to the daddy shark. For our grandmother shark, we're going to use what's called a mutation sound. You'll notice that a mutation sound has a lot of color to it, and the fractions, normally we would not play the organ with just the fractions, because when I'm playing this note, for example, that's a C, and if I add, I'll show you here, and if I add the fraction, now listen carefully. Can you hear that it's not a C? But when we hear them together, it makes a lot of color. And you know, I don't know if you have a colorful grandmother, but I did. So we have the color that we get from that, from playing 2.5 octaves higher than a C, or 2 2/3 and 1 3/5 higher than a C, makes for a very colorful sound. So let's listen again to the grandmother shark with our mutations. Makes it kind of fun. All right, and finally, a grandfather shark, you'll notice that the stops that are lit up happen to all be red. That's because this last classification of sounds on the organ, or families, are called reeds. And even though they're not reeded instrument, trumpet or a trombone, even though it's not a reeded instrument, it's called a reed on an organ because of the way the pipes are designed. I'll show you that some other time. We have lots of reeds on this organ, lots of brass kind of sounds, and I'd like you to listen to them, and I'm going to play a special one that's electronic that's called a fanfare. So here are some of our reeds. Yeah, that one reed was a little bit sluggish. Did you hear it? All right, so this one is the electronic. You can hear that's pretty brassy. So when we put it all together, I'm going to show you something that's really neat. I haven't talked about these pedals, but this last pedal is called a crescendo pedal. And you can hear the family of instruments come in one at a time. So I'm going to just push this pedal very slowly and listen to what happens. See that? Isn't that cool? That means that it just automatically adds those families all together. So we've heard those instruments individually. Now let's hear the family. Let's hear the community of sounds, and please sing along.
Sophia, thank you so much. I hope that others were doing the baby shark dance along with me so that I can at least tell myself I was not the only one that was trying to make sure I did every single part of the family. Oh, good. Karen was at least. What a beautiful representation of all of the voices needed to make the most beautiful sound, to see that truly happening with our organ. Just as we need beautiful voices to make the fullest sound when we celebrate, when we are joyful as we welcome our children into our congregation, we also need all of our voices when we are grieving, when we are lonely, when we are worried. I want to invite you into a time of prayer and meditation. I feel uniquely aware this week of the loss of life from COVID-19 as our country passed 500,000 deaths in the past week. Perhaps you are feeling that as well. Perhaps you are bringing your own worries, your own joys or sorrows into this time. I want to invite you to share them now in the chat, whether you're in Zoom or elsewhere. I'm going to try to take a look to see what might be lifted up in the shared space of this community. I invite you to share as Sophia plays for us. Friends, I see as you share all that you are carrying today. Will you join me lifting those cares together into our community? Will you join me in prayer? Spirit of life and love, God of many names and beyond our naming. This morning, we bring prayers of gratitude, prayers grateful to see old friends who are healing, prayers of gratitude for loved ones' recovery. We bring sadness to lives of those lost to COVID and in other ways, those we have loved for years and love still. We are searching for joy this morning, hoping that we might see it in each other or find it here. We bring gratitude as well for the vaccine. Some of us have received our doses and feel renewed hope. Some of us are searching still to find a way to get it. We feel both hope and worry this morning, bringing our whole hearts to this gathered community, to our understanding of the divine as it moves in our lives. to our sense of connection with the world around us. Spirit of life and love, be with us through all that we carry. Help us to feel your presence now, in this moment, and in the moments of the week to come. Amen. Tom, thank you so much again for that music and the way you have both lifted us up and soothed us as well. A little bit later in our service, we'll have the chance to hear Tom and Sophia riff a little together, and let me tell you, nothing is better. Friends, it is so good to be with you this morning, to be gathered for the fourth Sunday of February. This is the close of our month-long exploration of the theme of beloved community. Perhaps you remember the beginning of the month. It was only 28 days ago, but still, time has no real meaning. We began our exploration with the history of the term beloved community, talking about Josiah Royce and Howard Thurman, Marcia Riggs, remember that? And of course, Martin Luther King Jr. King's name is the one most associated now, I think, with the term of beloved community. He is the guy, right? The prophet, the hero of the civil rights movement. Truly a prophet of our time. Martin Luther King, who always knew what to do, who was committed to nonviolence, who carried us forward. I am inspired regularly by Reverend Dr. King's legacy, by his organizing work and by his words. And I have loved the chance to learn more about how, although we celebrate King, truly he was part of a movement that extended far beyond him, that brought tireless workers, women who worked for civil rights behind the scenes, other men who gathered together and organized. And I have loved to hear about the way that King's work was inspired by the work of others, was changed by the work of others. I want to start by telling you a story I heard sometime last year, a story about Bayard Rustin, another civil rights hero and worker, but one we don't hear about as much. Bayard Rustin was actually one of the core organizers for the March on Washington, but he wasn't up in the front. He wasn't one of the marquee names, if you will, in part because he was a gay man. Well, this story happened actually relatively early on in Dr. King's organizing work. And it's a story about how Reverend Martin Luther King came to his position of nonviolence. You know, the Montgomery bus boycott, that first really big movement of Dr. King's within the civil rights movement, King was new to organizing. He was actually, turns out, chosen to lead that bus boycott, to lead that organizing strategy, to be the public face for it, in part because he was new to the scene in Montgomery, Alabama, because he didn't have divided loyalties yet, and so could appeal to many churches and pastors. Over the course of the long bus boycott, Reverend Dr. King received threats and had armed watchmen stationed at his house to care for him. According to Bayard Rustin, and I quote, "I think it's fair to say that Dr. King's view of nonviolent tactics was almost non-existent when the boycott began. In other words, Dr. King was permitting himself and his children and his home to be protected by guns," end quote. Now, you can imagine perhaps this impulse as death threats come in, as Dr. King's children and wife and he himself live at home, why he might have chosen to have armed guards. But Bayard Rustin thought something else was needed for the movement that King was leading, for the movement that together they were organizing. And so there's this story of Rustin going to King's house along with a reporter who, as the reporter sat down for the interview, he literally almost sat on a gun that was left there on the sofa. Well, the interview finished and Rustin stayed, arguing long into the night with King about nonviolence, about the commitment to nonviolence and how important it would be for their movement. Later on, King went to study in India and other places. And over time, his commitment to nonviolence as an organizing tactic and as a deeply held personal stance grew and grew until now, when his legacy is synonymous with that commitment to nonviolence. What I love about that story is the way it shows us that our friends, our fellow movement organizers, can change us dramatically. The way we can be transformed because we are not alone in the work. Because in the end, it's not us as a hero, but rather we as the movement. We need each other, just like King needed Rustin in that moment. We need each other for the work. So that story has been going through my mind as I have been thinking about this sermon and about the concept of beloved community. I titled this sermon, How to Be a Nonprofit Community Organization, prophet spelled like prophet, Isaiah and Amos and King. A little wordplay because I just can't actually resist it, but also I hope an invitation to think more deeply. Alicia Garza, one of the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement, has spoken really clearly about the importance of moving away from the hero archetype in our movement work. In an article in The Guardian, an interview conducted by Arwa Madawi, Garza says this: "We are often taught that, like a stork, some leader swoops from the sky to save us. That sort of mythologizing," she says, "obscures the average person's role in creating change. Garza, in fact, has stepped away from a leadership role in the Black Lives Matter movement, knowing that new people needed to come into leadership, that having the same heroic figure, the celebrity leader at the front, wasn't going to be what the movement needed as it continued. In the book, No More Heroes, Grassroots Challenges to the Savior Mentality, the author Jordan Flaherty speaks with Paulina Helm Hernandez, a queer Latina organizer and artist, reflecting on the lessons of multiracial movement building. Helm Hernandez says this: I think white people in movement building need to make a call about whether they will be individual activists or if they active organizing. The latter means that you don't have to always be the final vote on the strategy, the pace, timing, tone, and approach. Put another way, it means you have to learn how to share political imagination, power, and work without having to always be in charge. So if we're not holding out for a hero, I hope, by the way, that you are hearing the song from, is it Bonnie Taylor in your head? He's got to be strong and he's got to be fast and he's got to be fresh from the fight. If we're not holding out for that hero, if indeed we don't want to wait for the stork to swoop in because we understand, as Garza told us, the importance of the average person's role in creating change, what is it that we are waiting for? What do we want to build, to create, or to be instead of a hero? It's a little ironic, perhaps, that I'm talking about this just as we are preparing for the Leadership Day that our board member, Amy Shepard, talked about in our opening. And so I want to offer some clarity or a caveat, because I do really want you to go to that Leadership Day. And I do believe that each one of us has leadership within us, however it plays out in our lives, in our congregation, in our world. But what I am most interested in Saturday, when we gather and nurture the leader within, what I am most interested in is what is the kind of leadership that allows us to lead with, to be leaders among leaders together, to create the kind of long movement work that we need. Back in 2016, after the election, there was a flurry of energy and work and movement building and creation. And many of us, myself included, were caught up in that energy forward. We're going to do all the things and go to all the rallies and be all the things and write all the letters. And folks who had been involved in justice work and movement work for longer reminded us it's not a sprint. It's a marathon we're in. It's been going on long before this moment. It'll be going on much further. And at that time, I clung to that image. It's a marathon, not a sprint that we're in. Now, though, I think even more about the image of a relay race. Each of us passing the baton as we are able, carrying it just as far as we can go, and then handing it off. Perhaps it's the image of the Olympic torch brought all around the world. Some people caught on camera as they run through laurels practically on their heads. Some caught on camera as they roll through using their chairs to move them forward. Some carrying that Olympic torch and never seen on camera, but helping it get all around the world. Especially during our pandemic times when so many of us feel tired, we are all doing what we can do, carrying the baton as long as we can before we pass it off and pick it up again. And then again, as the words from our child dedication reminded us, we are only people, each one of us good at different things. And I am relieved yet again, not just that I don't have to carry the baton all the time, but also that I don't have to be good at all the things. Deepa Iyer talks about social change ecosystems and about the roles each of us carry in a movement. She has a beautiful map that I commend to you. In the center of it are equity, justice, liberation, and solidarity, and all around, like spokes, all of which are needed for the wheel to turn, are different movement roles. Roles like storyteller, visionary, builder, frontline responders. I think about those roles when I think about all of the ways people engage with justice work, even here in the UUCA community. Alianza's work in the Buckingham neighborhood, or with the scholarship program for Mayan children in Guatemala, that might be frontline responder work, gathering the resources that are needed right now. The work of Voice, doing interfaith community organizing, they might be builders, organizing resources for the long haul. Perhaps those who engage in Braver Angels work are healers, trying to bridge divides. Maybe the accompaniers in Guatemala are disruptors, bringing in new ways of seeing in the system. I just got a call, in fact, for frontline responders, if that is your movement role, to sign folks up to pre-register for vaccines in hard-hit neighborhoods in Arlington. We know that COVID has affected neighborhoods very differently, particularly over racial lines. There's been a significant racial disparity in how COVID has affected people in Arlington County and across the country. And so we are trying to get the vaccine particularly to those neighborhoods as well. If you want to be involved in that, I want to invite you to send me an email and I'll get you connected. We need all those movement roles for the wheel to turn toward equity and justice and liberation and solidarity, as Deepa Iyer tells us. And it's not just true for social change either. Our child dedication reminded us of that we need the whole community to help to support the development of that child and to support the parents as well, to support all the teachers, everyone who is seeing this life forward into all that it could be. There's a Marge Piercy poem that I love, The Low Road. It starts out by telling us all that could happen. Alone, you can fight, you can refuse, you can take what revenge you can, but they roll over you. But two people fighting back to back can cut through a mob. Piercy goes on, 3 people are a delegation, a committee, a wedge. With 4, you can play bridge and start an organization. With 6, you can rent a whole house, eat pie for dinner with no seconds, and hold a fundraising party. How we do our work in this congregation and in the world around us, in our parenting and our child raising, how we do our work matters. The community that we build matters. The sustainability of it all, the way we bring our whole spiritual selves to it. The Piercy poem finishes. It goes on one at a time. It starts when you care to act. It starts when you do it again and they say no. It starts when you say we and know who you mean. And each day, you mean one more. We know, I think, deep in our bones that it takes all of us, that it takes every note the organ plays to make the music beautiful, every RE teacher we have to support the child and their parents. We know it just the way we know a TED Talk isn't the same as going to a worship service, even when the sermon is online, just like a TED Talk, because we don't come for the sermon. We come for each other. I am so grateful, friends, to be here for and with because of each of you, because of what we can create only if we create it together. I want to invite Bill, our worship associate, Sophia, and Tom, our musicians this morning, to join me here, to join me in a multi-voice, multimedia reading and sharing this morning. Here we are together. It takes all of us, each one bringing our own voice, a different sound, a different beat, a different possibility. It takes all of us together.
It takes all of us, each one bringing our own history, a different knowledge, a different experience, a different way of understanding the world. It takes all of us together.
When one voice drowns the others out, we miss the nuance. More than that, we miss the playfulness. We miss the chance for give and take, for learning, for growth. It takes all of us together.
When voices sing in harmony, we grow in power. We gain the power of connection, the power of solidarity, the power of all of us together. It takes all of us together.
Together, we are a force for change. Even more, together, we are transformed. It takes all of us together.
It is good to be together. For the offertory, I wanted to share a quick story about one of our former members, Joe Adcock, who now lives in the state of Washington. Though I must say, with our internet-connected world, I'm thinking we no longer have former members, we just have friends who live far away. Well, Joe had a Facebook post recently which put a nice twist on the third part of our offertory litany of gratitude. In the video to follow me, you'll get to hear all three parts of the litany. But I want to talk about the third part, which goes as follows. Let us be grateful for our needs so that we may learn from the generosity of others. Well, in his Facebook post, Joe mentioned that out of the blue, he received the gift of what he called a super duper walker. He shared a photo of what looked like a very special gift. Joe was clearly super pleased and happy with the gift. And he put this twist on that third litany of gratitude with these words: let us be grateful for our unmet needs so that others may have an opportunity to be generous. I love that phrasing, so that others may have an opportunity to be generous. Well, today we all have an opportunity to be generous, to share our gifts. And to find out more about that opportunity, Reverend Walter has some late breaking news to share with you in the following video. It is good news indeed.
Last summer, UUCA suspended its share program. The collection from the offering was down, and we needed time to see what pandemic life was going to look like before we could recommit to Share the Plate. Now, the ministry team, in conjunction with the Board of Trustees and the Social Justice Ministries team, have been working for the last few months, and today we would like to announce the return of Share the Plate. From now until the end of this fiscal year, we will be splitting the plate 70-30 with 4 different recipients: the Buckingham community, Alive, AFAC, and the Our Lady Queen of Peace Randolph PTA Food Bank. The Social Justice Ministries team has chosen these 4 community partners because they are directly helping people in our own neighborhoods who are dealing with food insecurity, something that has been growing greatly during the pandemic. For the next 4 Sundays, the UUCA offering will be shared with those most in need at the Buckingham community. 70% of the donations received over the next month will be used to purchase grocery gift cards that will be distributed in collaboration with the resident services manager and the Arlington County Community Outreach Specialist in Buckingham. Both of the individuals who hold these offices are on site and have intimate knowledge of the residents' needs. We know that the residents will be well served by these efforts. There are so many ways to pledge: through our website, by text, the Give Plus app, and of course you can always mail a check with Share the Plate in the memo line. As you make your donation today, know that 70% of what you give will be going directly to people in need. I ask that you please give accordingly, and consider adding just a little extra this week to your gift, knowing that it's going to someone who can use it. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others. Thank you so much for giving.
friends, we have dedicated children, we have sung to Baby Shark, we have shared our voices, our sounds, our hands, our hearts. May that sharing continue as you go out into your week. May you find every day a reminder that it takes all of us together. May it be so. Thank you all so much for being with us. Our live stream is ending, and Zoom folks, if you are joining us in the Zoom room, if you would like to, you may. I think we're trying to give you the option to unmute now so you can say hello to each other and wave across the cameras and be glad to be with each other. I am so appreciative to Leanne and Sophia and Tom and Bill and all of the families who made this possible, who arranged their day so that it would work, and Annie and Paul, everybody in the behind the scenes. It's so good to be with you. So friends, if you're in Zoom, if you want to put it on gallery view, go ahead and gallery it up so that you can see where you all are. Yay!
Hello.
Thank you, everybody.
Great service. Thank you.
This is lovely.
Service.
Yeah, it's really lovely.
Just a great service. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know that Sarah's put the link to the Zoom coffee hour in the chat, and many of you have that as well, so you can all head over to that coffee hour too. I'm gonna go hang out with the 5th and 6th graders. Great to be
Thanks,
with you all.
everybody.
Bye.
Care. Stay safe.
Everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Coffee hour today, but I'll see you all. Bye.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen.
So good to see everybody. There's Annie. Woo, Annie.
Right.
Yes, Laura, we did make history. I don't know if Laura's still here. She's saying we made history with our virtual dedication. So true.